What is up? Hello, everybody. How you doing? Already see some familiar faces. Hey, Teresa. What's up, Brad? Good to see you. Hey, Deborah. James, Douglas in the house. Frank. Hey, buddy. I haven't seen you in a while. How's it going? John Grimshaw. I know you. Michael King. What is up, buddy? Hey, Jean. Hey, Vera. Hey, Oscar. Hey, Brian. Hey, everybody. Hey, Jacqueline. I like your hat. Hey, Annaline. Oh my gosh, long time no see. Hey, Maria. What's up, Paul? Hello. Oh, so good to see all your faces. How is everybody doing today? Give me a score out of 10. Y'all, I woke up to 6 inches of snow in Kentucky, which totally shuts us down. I was committed to this show, so I slept at the office last night, which ended up being a good call. I probably wouldn't have made it. So, they talk about sleeping under the desk. Luckily, I do have a little bed here. So, I'm glad we could make this happen. Deborah says she is a 10. I love it. Michael King is 100. Damn. 9+ for Oscar. I can tell you're a data person, aren't you? Teresa's an 8. What's up, everybody? Deborah's a 10. Hey, excited to kick this off with all of you. Hi, Steve. Hi, Pep. What's up, Victor? All right. Welcome to the first episode of the Smart Marketer Show, y'all. We will be doing this every single month. The goal here is within an hour to give you everything that we think you need to know in D2C marketing so that you're not having to constantly be in education mode. There is also a back and forth component to this, not only in the chat throughout the call, but at the end of every single episode, we will be taking questions live. First off, shout out to the Smart Marketer team, as always, for making this happen. Special shout out to Arian here that you guys can hopefully see on the screen. He is the producer of this show. So this is his entire business, is to help people like us who have audiences, want to keep them engaged, want to continue to educate to them, to host really fun educational shows. So if you're looking to do something similar, reach out to my friend here. I couldn't say better things about his producing skills. Brad says he loves the idea of a show. Yes. Oh my gosh, you guys should totally do it. Your wife would crush it. Hey, Kate, what's up, y'all? So we are going to go ahead and dive in. This is going to be a really fun hour together. What do you guys think about the branding? We're going with a little bit more pink in the Smart Marketer branding recently. I like it. I think it's a little more exciting than just the blues and the greens. This episode is more of a general episode. What's working now in D2C marketing? Every episode, we will have different topics. Some of them will be more specific to creative, to paid ads, email. This one, we kept it a little bit broader, especially with the time of year. This is one of my favorite times of year to be in the education space when it comes to entrepreneurs and marketers like all of you out there, because January and February really set the tone for how the year is going to go. This is when we are in deep analysis mode. What happened last year? What does that mean for this year? What happened in January? What does that mean for the rest of 2025 and even going into next year? So we're really going to set the stage for the show here on today's episode, and you guys will get an idea of the fun format that we have laid out for the show. We are going to keep this consistent every single time so that you know exactly what to expect. So I know we talked about how today is going. How is 2025 going for you, especially in your business? We know that 2024 was a tough year for a lot of entrepreneurs and marketers. Even personally, it seemed like a year of intensities, a lot of highs, a lot of lows. This year's feeling a little bit more stable for us. I don't know if you guys are feeling the same, but I have a feeling this is going to be one of the best years yet in online marketing and entrepreneurship. And I'm excited to be on this ride with all of you amazing humans. Thanks to everybody that showed up live here today. There are a lot of new faces, which we love. Some faces I've known, 13, 14 years. Thanks for following along. And some of you are brand new. This is me with my dog, Larry, who is on set. He's a little camera shy today. A dream later in this show, guys, is I actually have a whole camera set up for Larry. I'm not joking. We have to figure out how to get him to stay on camera. But when we add more complexity, Larry has his very own camera. He says hi to everybody. I started in this space over 13 years ago. This is crazy for me to update every year. It honestly feels like 70 years in internet years, but 13 years I've been playing this online game. I didn't mean to get into this industry, I promise you. I grew up here, small town Kentucky, moved to Austin, Texas. I wanted to be in the spirits industry. I had been working in bourbon, and when I moved to Austin, no one would hire me. So I was bartending. I was essentially forced to take a paid internship in marketing because I needed to make money. That internship was with a company called Digital Marketer. A lot of you, I've known you since those days. And here we are. I became the VP of marketing at Digital Marketer. Then about 7 years ago, went out on my own as an entrepreneur. So it's been a wild ride, and so happy that I've landed where I am. Now I'm the managing partner and CEO of smartmarketer.com. Obviously, you guys are familiar with us if you signed up for this show. I also run a dog rescue, which I have recently relaunched, rebranded the efforts that are a reflection of what we do at my farm. So we save hundreds of dogs every single year from euthanasia, from life-threatening situations. That rescue is called Fields of Freedom. We just launched V1 of the website yesterday, FOFdogrescue.com. It was built on our software Zipify. No surprise there. So let me know what you guys think of that branding. Let me know what you think of our new site. This is something I want to talk about more in this space, but just remember, as entrepreneurs, as marketers, we are not only developing skill sets that can help us in the now for our for-profit efforts, but we can use those same skill sets to solve other problems in the world. And the nonprofit is some of my favorite work that I do in this space. We also own a farm to table restaurant. I cannot take a lot of credit for this. I am a consumer and a marketing strategist, but this is called Morley's, and this is something that my husband runs. It's a really fun local business, and it also keeps me grounded in the day-to-day of the experiences that all of you who have local businesses are experiencing, which, fun fact, it's not that different from the crazy online world. So this is me, a little bit about Smart Marketer. Smart Marketer is now a group of over 50 people, which is really wild. We've come a long way since I joined in 2018. We have helped over 50,000 students up-level their marketing and business skill sets. Just between the owners of the company, myself, Ezra Firestone, Pepijn Hufen, and John Grimshaw with the champagne bottle. It's my favorite picture of John ever. We have over 40, probably over 50 years of experience starting, scaling, growing businesses on the internet. Every single day, we spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on platforms like Meta, Google, YouTube. We send millions of emails. So we do have an education component, which you're experiencing now, but we also have an agency where we service over 25 clients. And even in a tough economy over the last 12 months, in aggregate, our clients were able to grow on average by 75%. So still a lot of fun, goodness, and growth happening out there in this space for those of us that really want to grab the bull by the horns, as they say. So, what to expect from this show every single time? As I said, the goal is to really keep these segments the same so that you guys know what to expect, just like a TV show. So we will always open after the intro with Numbers Don't Lie. And this segment is really taking a pulse on our industry. We're going to look at 3 numbers in every episode. These numbers will change. But this is data that we have collected from all of our clients, all of the businesses that we own. And these numbers are not only a way to see how your current marketing efforts are stacking up against others in the industry, but this really gives us a pulse on what is going on in marketing today. The second is this just in. This is something that I stole from Ezra. He had a live show 5-10 years ago. And my favorite segment of that show was this just in. So I'll share an update, breaking news in the marketing industry that I think is important for you guys to know about, and really what we are thinking about that here at Smart Marketer. The third part is action of the month. Something that I'm learning more and more in our industry every single day is people are less interested in learning than they used to be. 10 years ago, we all nerded out about this stuff for hours on, well, I guess it wasn't Zoom, it was probably Skype. And we were just absorbing information. Information is now a commodity. And yes, some of you still like to learn, but you want to know what actions you should be taking. So the goal of this segment is to tell you something that you should go do right now in your business or for your clients to start to get results. The fourth, sorry, I messed up on the number here, is copy this win. So we will be sharing a case study from one of our businesses or one of our clients that is succeeding, and they're sharing their number one takeaway. For example, today, SweetFlex, how they went from 6 to 8 figures in just 2 years. And if they had to attribute that to just one thing in their business, what was it? And how can you apply whatever they've done in the projects that you're currently working on? And then, as always, we will have Let's Chat. Today, this will be general Q&A, but this will change from month to month. Sometimes we'll have you submit your ads, your landing pages, your promotions, your products, so that we can do live critiques here with you. So this is what to expect today and every single month here on the Smart Marketer Show. As always, we have these amazing QR codes, thanks to Sam on our team, that you can scan. This is going to give you access to the slides. This will give you access to any of the links that I mentioned here in this presentation, so that we're keeping everything in one place. Yes, you will get a replay. That replay will be always available. We're not going to expire those replays. This is truly here to build goodwill with our community and get this information out into our market. So yes, you will have a replay. You will always have the slides, and all of the links from each episode will be on this QR code. We'll also be emailing this out to all of you when the replay is ready. All right, y'all, so it's time to dive in. So in this segment, Numbers Don't Lie, we are actually going to look at 3 metrics from January of 2024 and compare those to January 2025. This is something that I've been doing for 12 years. I am always so excited when January ends, because I know that I now have the data to compare what happened to the previous year. And there are a few reasons that we do this. The main one being that January is very indicative of how the entire year is going to perform. When we looked at these metrics this time last year, they didn't look so hot. And last year, as we mentioned, was a tough year for a lot of online businesses. So we are going to do this same exercise, and we're going to look at the top 3 metrics that I think are the biggest indication of how this year is going to look in our space and what those mean. So the first metric is very simple: revenue. Revenue can be misleading, but it does give us an idea of overall growth in terms of the clients and businesses that we are working with. So, good news. This time last year, we were actually seeing a huge decrease across the board in revenue generated in January versus the previous year. Good news, y'all. We are back up by 15%, which is actually more significant than we usually see when doing this comparison, which tells us a few things. Last year was rough, right? Not to continue to iterate that, but across the board, it was. And it really seems like things are improving. A lot of our clients had their best January ever at Smart Marketer as an info, as a service-based business, even while removing the big launch that we used to do every January to sell Train My Traffic Person, we have had one of our best months ever. So it really looks like things are rebounding when we're looking at overall revenue growth. Again, 15% in aggregate. What are you guys seeing, right? Just off the top of your head, even if you don't have the numbers in front of you, are you up from last year when just comparing January? Are you down? Great. 83% of you are up. And hey, it's okay if you're down, right? Again, guys, if you are in any of our programs, you have heard me lecture and talk about this. There is nothing wrong with having a down year. Also, revenue is not always indicative of profit. I would take a down year in terms of overall revenue and higher profit any day over a year where I grew revenue, but my profit was shrinking. So don't get down about this. Okay, amazing, 74%. All right, so it looks like 3 out of 4 of you are up. That is really, really cool. We're going to be able to include these metrics in our follow-up too. I also want to call out the quote on this screen. It was very intentional. This was something I saw on Instagram a couple of days ago, and I just want you to take this to heart. And this is going to be a big theme later in this episode. There is only one boss, the customer, and he can fire everybody in the company from the chairman on down simply by spending his money somewhere else. Really let that sit in when you're thinking about who is in charge, when you're thinking about the growth or maybe loss in a business. This all goes back to the customer. The customer is voting. This is not only important for us to understand as marketers and business people, but it is also important to understand as consumers and being very intentional with who and where you are spending your money. That is a form of voting. All right. The next metric, y'all, average order value. And this is for businesses of all types: local, info, SaaS, e-commerce. This is not just e-commerce businesses. When we are looking at last January versus this January, we have seen a 20% increase in average order value from $60 to $72. This is amazing because it's telling us not only are people spending more, but in session, right? In one transaction, they are actually spending more. For us, this is a function of better offers, right? Better marketing using one-click upsell, our software that really allows us to bump AOV. But it is also a reflection of consumers possibly having a bit higher discretionary income, being willing to spend a bit more in a session with a company. So year over year, when it comes to AOV, where are you guys sitting? If you know, if this is something that you track, are you guys up? Are you guys down? Is this something that you are monitoring every single day? And while we do that poll, I want to ask, or really just put out there, did you guys know that most companies, especially e-commerce companies, don't see a profit until Q4? This is literally why it's called Black Friday. It means getting back into the black, getting back into profitability. There are businesses whose sole strategy is to acquire customers for the entire year and then use Q4 as their monetization, as their way to actually generate profit in the business. But is your average order value trending upward or downward? I can't see this poll right now, but I'll let Arian relay the results here in the chat if you guys can't see it. Okay, and then last but not least, and I changed this one up last minute. This was another metric, but I found some really interesting data that I wanted to show you. So this piece of data is called click to purchase rate. And this is essentially measuring the number of clicks that it takes an end user before they buy. So this is a reflection of course, your website, in a way, conversion rate, but it's also a reflection of the sales cycle, right? How long does it take someone to buy from you? Depending on the business, this is really going to depend. Some businesses have longer sales cycles for obvious reasons, but any way that we can start to squish and shorten that sales cycle, the better our business is going to do. And when looking across the board, last year, 2.7% in January, this year, 3.7%. So that's up almost 40%, the click to purchase rate. There are a few reasons for this. I do believe platforms like Meta are getting smarter in terms of finding people that are best suited for our product or our service. I also think that marketers are getting smarter in the offer styles that they are using top of funnel to try to attract people to buy more quickly. So this is a metric that you definitely want to be tracking in your marketing efforts, especially if you spend a lot on paid media. Is yours up? Is yours down? If that's something that you know. I also wanted to share this fun fact while we sit on this particular topic. A metric that people look at to really analyze this space is CPM, cost per 1,000 impressions. And that really tells us how much does it cost on average to advertise on this platform. And a lot of marketers are constantly wanting to decrease the CPM. They want cheaper traffic. They want cheaper traffic. And that's righteous. That's something that we should all do. But in this in-depth analysis that we just completed, something that I noticed was that a high CPM wasn't always a bad thing. There was actually a correlation for some of our clients where the higher the CPM, the better the ROAS. And what that tells us is that sometimes you are paying more for the traffic, but it is higher quality traffic, right? You are paying for better placements. You're paying to get in front of your target audience. So this was a fun fact that we wanted to share in this numbers conversation in regards to CPM. A lower CPM is not always a bad thing. And another way to look at that is that you could be paying for more premium placements, for higher quality traffic. So really let that sit in as you go about your paid traffic analysis. All right, y'all. So this squirrel summed up how I felt about these metrics. Really, all of the metrics that we analyzed when it comes to looking at our market are up over 2024. Again, that tells me that we are set up for a really badass year in digital marketing. And it is something all of us should be positive about, and really, really take advantage of. And always have hope, as Mr. Squirrel is saying here. So what did you guys think about the numbers section? Did you like that? We'll be switching up the numbers every time to tell a different story, to give you guys insights into different parts of these businesses. But for me, those three metrics were really indicative of how our entire space is going to look moving through the rest of the year. Awesome, y'all. So now, this just in. You got to say it that way for Ezra. This is the segment where we talk about breaking news. Now, I will never force it in this segment. If there's not something cool going on, I won't share it. But we happen to have a bit of information announced from Meta 4 or 5 days ago that I want to share with you today for all of our Meta advertisers out there. So there was actually a lot to this announcement, but I want to really zoom in on one piece of this that I'm most excited about. And this is something that we actually got to test for one of our clients who is an information business. So any of you out there that have been advertising on Meta the last few years, you know about Advantage Plus. We don't have time to go into what that is or why it necessarily matters, but it is a huge, huge piece of the future of Meta advertising. It's where we are generating a lot of our sales for our clients inside of our Meta accounts. And part of what Meta announced is that they are introducing Advantage Plus, which has traditionally been for e-commerce businesses, for people selling physical products. They are introducing Advantage Plus Leads Campaign. This is really exciting for not only all of the businesses out there that do rely on lead generation or the selling or sharing of information. This is also important for all of you e-commerce businesses out there. We really see the future of this space being a hybrid business model. When we analyze our clients that are scaling in the most efficient way with the most momentum, they do not identify as an e-commerce business or an information business or just a service business. They are mixing at least two of those business models. So maybe they traditionally sold physical products, but now they've added information on the front end and or the back of their business in order to increase lifetime value, in order to become more scalable in customer acquisition. And the same works the other way. A lot of information businesses that are now adding things like physical products into the mix that they know their audience would care about. You even have seen us do this at Smart Marketer over the last few years. We used to be a purely information or education business. Now we have a whole agency back into the business where we generate most of our profit. So this hybrid business model is the way to scale moving forward. And it's really exciting that Meta is now leaning in with these Advantage Plus Leads campaign. Have any of you guys beta tested this? What do you guys think about this? It's really funny because when they launched Advantage Plus a few years ago, I remember telling John, my business partner, who I think's here on this live, oh, I can't wait till we can do this for lead generation. Because when you use Advantage Plus, you are opening up access. Think of it like access to Meta's AI side of the algorithm that is allowing you to kind of put your hands up and say, Meta, you have my offer, you have my copy and creatives based off of what you know about consumers on your platform. Go out and find customers, or in this case, go out and find leads. So this doesn't mean that our traditional way of running campaigns or advertising is necessarily changing. This is just opening up an entirely new campaign type for all of us that do lead generation, which should be hopefully within the next month, every single one of us on this call, right? Every single one of us on this call. It doesn't matter what you're selling, there is always a time to invest in lead generation as a part of your customer journey. So, what do you guys think about this update from Meta? There are some other cool things included here that we don't have time to dive into, but my favorite part of this is the Advantage Plus Leads campaign. I believe this means that they're renaming Advantage Plus Shopping to like Advantage Plus Sales. It's getting another name, just FYI. Always changing. We love you, Meta, but the words, the names are always changing. And this is what I'm most excited about here. So this has been the This Just In segment, and we'll always be sharing the breaking news with you during this part of the show. Okay, y'all. So now we are diving into the action of the month. And you know that we have to include a little bit of education on the front end here, so that you do understand we're laying the landscape for why what I am about to tell you matters. But what I will say about this particular segment is this month, this is built to help you generate revenue in your business. Who doesn't want or desire more revenue in their business? So this action is really close to your bottom line. And where I want to start here is the idea that Q1 is the new Q5. Have any of you heard this? I believe I first heard this at a workshop in New York at Meta's offices a year or two ago. It was something they were all saying. Q1 is the new Q5. And I thought, oh, that's pretty interesting. It's also true, but it feels really catchy. And it's something that every single Q1, we have been diving further and further into this concept. So, what does this mean? So, most of us know that big brands, and when I'm talking big brands, I mean your Targets, your Nikes of the world, most of them spend their marketing budgets or a significant amount of their marketing budgets in Q4. That's why we see such a high cost of traffic during that time. The auction is just flooded with advertisers that are running their Black Friday sales, their holiday sales. And then right at the turn of the new year, we almost always see about a 50% reduction in the cost of traffic. And a lot of that is that advertisers are decreasing their budgets or they are hopping out of the auction altogether because their Q4 sales are over. And what I'm here to tell you is that if you are doing that, you are missing out on a huge opportunity. You are missing out on Q5. And what's important to understand about this is that Q5 or Q1 can be almost as big for your business, no matter what business type you have, as Q4 without having to feel too promotional. You can take the same concepts that you're using in Q4 to generate revenue and really switch the hook, really switch the mindset of what you're doing to continue to have relevance with your customer base, but to continue your monetization efforts. So where in Q4, people are looking for discounts, they're gifting, they are in the holiday mindset, probably a little bit less health focused, a little bit less self-development focused. In Q1, people are switching their mindset. They're focusing more on a better you, a better pet. You do not have to be a health brand to take advantage of this mindset that happens in all of us as humans at the start of the new year. So it's about taking the same promotional principles that we use in Q1 and starting to apply that to in Q4 and starting to apply that to Q1, but really switching up the market messaging. So this is the perfect time for a promotion, or maybe even a couple of promotions. And bonus points if you add an educational element to this, because Q1 is the time in which consumers are most likely to be willing to learn something new, to pick up a new habit. And when I say promotion, guys, this doesn't always mean that it has to be a discount. We don't have time to go into this today. We will on the episode where I bring on John Grimshaw. But there are many different promotional styles, which is essentially a story you're telling an audience over the course of a set period of time. There are many styles that do not have to leverage discounts, right? It can leverage free gifts, it can leverage information. There are many other ways to create scarcity. And I just say that because I know a lot of you are thinking, oh my God, I don't want to do another discount. You don't have to. So I'm about to show you a quick case study from our client Nutripal. They are a dog supplement brand in Europe where they generated 88% of their Black Friday, Cyber Monday revenue. So the 30 days around Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and Q4, we were able to generate almost 90% of that in Q1 by treating it like Q5, which really sets them up for a very profitable year. So, what would your business look like if you could generate 90% of your Q4 revenue in Q1? And again, this applies to information businesses. How many of you do launches in Q1 as info businesses? January, February, March. Those are the best times of year to do launches for all of the reasons that we just discussed. And the same would apply for a brick and mortar. So I'm about to walk through the 3 steps that we, mostly John, used to generate this revenue for Nutripal. Yours do not have to look the same as what I'm showing you, but these 3 steps are important that you follow the thought process of these steps, but your promotion can look different depending on what you sell. So step 1, Q4 is over. We hammer our lists more than usual during Q4, right? Our email, our SMS lists, they come out of Q4, they're a little haggard, right? Even the best of us, it's probably the time of year where the email lists are the most tired. So one of the best things you can do in Q1 is a really simple warming sequence. It doesn't have to be complicated, but the goal here is to run, we would call this a promotion, even though we're not selling anything. And the goal here is really to reset the expectations with our email service provider to show them, hey, we're not just trying to blast the list with a bunch of discounts. We actually care. The goal here is to send positive signals back to our ESPs saying that we are doing good work and that our audience loves us. There are many creative ways to do this. You guys will get all of these emails in the slides. I don't have time to go through every detail, but essentially what we did over the course of 5 days is sent out an email, one email every day that is asking the audience to click or to reply on something that is of value to them. That's it. And it's sending positive signals back to the ESPs. Now, with email 1, we start with a very small part of our audience, and then we start to broaden the audience size as we move forward here. There's also strategies around that as to the positive signals that it's sending back to the ESPs. And creativity is everything here. So this first email only went to 7,000 people, and this is a really large list. The click-through rate was over 5%, which is great for email. And here is the audience that we sent to if you guys want to check this out later. But essentially what the email did was ask a controversial question. Do you feed your dog kibble? Do you feed your dog raw food? Dog owners out there, I want to hear for other reasons which of these you feed your dog. Fun fact, my husband and I are launching a fresh homemade dog food brand this year that we've been feeding our dogs. We've seen amazing results. So I'm just curious what you guys see. But this is really simple. It clicks over to a blog post, and we're really just having them engage. Which of these do you feed your dog? Every market has questions like this that they can ask their audience. Okay, email 2. Now we're broadening out a bit, 17,000 recipients. So, of course, the click through rate went down a bit, but it's still high. This is the audience and the specifics of what we have done here. But what we did was give them our ultimate dog planner. So if you have top blog posts, you have top lead magnets, or even emails that you've sent out of topics that have done really well to your audience, this is the time to use them. And remember, your audience is not studying your brand as closely as you think. These are assets that we've used for Nutri-Pol over and over again. We did not create any new assets. So we're simply giving this ultimate dog planner. We're not asking them to buy anything. Email 3. Now we've zoomed out even more, 50,000 recipients, still a great click-through rate. For this one, we are asking something a little bit more controversial. I wouldn't even call it controversial, more interesting. It's the age-old question for dog owners. Why do your dogs eat grass? Do you guys know why dogs eat grass? It's actually pretty interesting. But we're using that pain point, that curiosity to ask our audience, hey, do you know why dogs eat grass? And if you don't, click over to this blog post to learn why. Again, touching on something that the audience thinks is very, very interesting. Email 4, broadening out even more, 85,000, 3.2% click-through rate, still really good. Now we're talking about 7 different reasons why our furry friends bark. Something interesting I learned the other day is that dogs actually have accents in how they bark. How wild is that? So it's just like us as humans. If a dog has been around another dog for a certain length of time, they will actually start to catch on and have similar barking accents. How wild is that? But again, something the audience would think was interesting. And then email 5, now we're sending to 120,000 people. This is our 30-day engaged audience. And this is giving them another resource, which is a food guide on things your dog can and cannot eat. We are about to run this same warming campaign starting today to the Smart Marketer list. Y'all, we have had students do this. We have had clients do this. We have never had a business run a warming sequence and not see positive results. That's why this is so important. We recommend doing this at the beginning of the year and midway through the year or into the fall, right before Q4. 13% increase in open rate for Nutri-Pol, 82% increase in click-through rate, 25% increase in place order when we're looking at the metrics in a bigger time window, which is interesting, increase in revenue per recipient, and now our engaged list size is bigger than when we've started. We've gotten people re-engaged with us via email. This is something all of you need to do as soon as possible if you want to boost your email metrics. Okay, so that is step 1. That is something everyone should do, no matter how basic or complex your email marketing practices are. Then we can get into the parts where we start to make some money. So for Nutri-Pol, this was 2 parts. For some of you, this could be 1 part. So step 2, after we have better engagement, we ran a very simple all-store sale. 5-day promotion, 15% off all products, and 25% off of 2 bundles. And again, we're changing that marketing messaging. Hey, January can be a tough month after the holidays. We're easing the stress with a discount. You guys can read these emails later. We have relevance in meeting the customer where they are. And this is how we did this for the all store sale. And then step 3, we went into what we call a warehouse sale that anyone with inventory could run. This was a 5-day promotion also, and this has an oops framing. So it's the beginning of the year, it's Q1, we've ordered too much inventory, but this is benefit to you, right? Because we ordered too much inventory, we are now going to run a sale. You don't even have to apply a coupon code. All of these particular products are now available for a discount. So essentially what we did, guys, was step 1, email warming campaign. Step 2, quick 5-day flash sale that was relevant to where the consumer's mind was at that time, a little bit of a break, then a warehouse sale. All of this together was 90% of the revenue that Connor was able to generate in the 30-day window about Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Again, not all of you have to run a discount sale. I understand not all of you are selling physical products. This is where you could have education on the front end of the sale. This quarter is the best time for webinars, for free mini series to launch a class like this, where you could sell something on the back end. So it doesn't have to look like Nutripol's sale looked. Our client Salt Wrap, they sell supplements for humans. They were able to generate 53% more revenue this past January than the January before. They almost doubled ad spend and increased ROAS by 37%. And they didn't really run a sale. They basically took their evergreen campaigns and took advantage. What we did as their media buying team took advantage of lower costs, right? Lower traffic costs, took advantage of this time of year. And we were able to scale what they were doing in Q4 from an evergreen standpoint in a big, big way in January. Scott, the owner, is also a very smart marketer, and he was able to add some educational components to his business, even though he sells physical products. Stuff like this pain-free reset, a free therapeutic nutrition program from Salt Wrap. His supplements help people in pain. So what better way to engage with the audience than a 4-part free video class that then sold them the supplements? This is something Scott shot, set up, and did all on his own. It allows us to generate leads. It also allows us to educate people on the front end and then sell them the product on the back end. So a great example of more of an education-based launch or promotion that you've got to be running in Q1, or is it Q5? So I want you guys to write down, what is a campaign idea? What is a promotion that you can run during Q1? We still have about 2 months left of Q1, this real sweet spot that you weren't already planning on running, that can increase the revenue of your business. I also want you to get that email warming campaign on your calendar, because whether you want to run a promotion or not, you've got to run an email warming campaign. Who doesn't want better email metrics? Please run that and let us know, how did it improve your overall metrics? There is no way it is going to hurt. And it is also amazing research into the mind of your audience. And it gives you ideas for hooks that you can use in ads on your website and in future promotions. You might even get ideas on other products that you can launch in the future. So right now, as we wrap up this action segment, please write down a promotional idea and at least note when you are going to run that email warming campaign. I need every single person here to do that. And remember, you can iterate on this every single year. The promotions that we run in Q1, a lot of them we've been doing 5, 6, 7 years. And every year we optimize, we improve, and we tweak a bit. We change the messaging a bit so it doesn't feel like the same thing over and over again. But this is like a workout, right? This is something you can start training for right now and improve on every single year that goes by. Okay, now it is time for Copy This Win. Here we are featuring SweetFlex, one of our clients that we've worked with, I believe, for over 2 years now. This is a case study on how SweetFlex went from 6 to 8 figures, which is something that I know a lot of you are looking for growth. You can check out their website when you have time, but essentially, SweetFlex, their hero product is a pair of leggings that has resistance bands built in. So a very novel, a very cool product. They're located in Austin, Texas. John and I got to go visit their warehouse a couple of months ago. You'll see some cool pictures of that in a second. As I said, their main hero product, what they launched with, were these resistance leggings, but they've done a great job of adding other complementary products, as you can see on their website. The initial price point is about $75 to $100. Their tagline is explore activewear with built-in resistance and get more from every step. And co-founder is Mac. Shout out to Mac. Shout out to Carlos, who runs their marketing. We love working with these guys. We run their paid ads and also their email. They were students long before they were clients, and just really, really good people with very smart engineer and product-based minds. So this is a picture of when SweetFlex was doing 6 figures and they were shipping their products out from their apartment. Anybody been there? I love seeing the pictures of you guys shipping from your apartment, shipping from your home. Nothing says I'm willing to do it all as a founder or a leader than shipping out of the place that you live. And now look at this. These are pictures that John and I took when we were visiting in November. So this was the perfect time to visit the warehouse because it was Q4. Black Friday was happening. And you can see all of the labels that we're printing constantly. It was fun. You can see Mac here in his Serve the World Unselfishly and Profit shirt. I don't know if we have a video of this, but Mac had John and I stand side by side to see who could package a pair of leggings more quickly. I thought that I won, but the team says that John won, so I guess John won. I don't think either of us will be hired anytime soon when it comes to packaging products, but just shout out to these guys. This is what is possible, y'all. And how did this happen? So we asked Mac, what is the one reason, if you had to just pick one, that you guys were able to grow so quickly? And I thought he was going to say our product. You know, it's novel, it's revolutionary. People think it's really cool. Who doesn't want to wear a pair of leggings that burn 255 calories a day on average while you go about your normal life? But he didn't say that. And what he said was back to fundamental 101 marketing that so many of us forget. I forget this for Smart Marketer every day. Even when I look at our clients that are in the mid 8 figures and trying to grow, a lot of them have forgotten this piece. Max said that it was by focusing their marketing more on the benefits and not the features of the product. This is something you guys have probably heard a million times, but it is the most important thing. He said, we were so focused on the features, the resistance bands, the fabric quality. Then smart marketers said, why not focus on the benefits? Customers were saying their legs felt more toned, they had more energy, even better knee support. That shift in mindset changed everything. And that is when our growth skyrocketed. So essentially, they quit focusing so much on the product and they started focusing more on their customers, what their customers wanted, and why their product changed the lives of the people that wear these leggings. And I've used this example for over 10 years, but it was the first example that I was ever shown to understand benefits versus features. And this dates itself with the iPod. Who had one of the big, thick iPods? I miss those. iPods were so cool. Anyways, you can see this on the left. Storage for 1 GB of MP3s. This is where most people are still stuck. This is the feature of the product. This is a detail. And when we are so close to our business, we are so close to our product. We think about it every single day. Our minds always go back to the features because that's what we're thinking about in order to make the product better. But that is not what our audience is thinking about. What happens when you look at this through the lens of a benefit to the customer? 1,000 songs in your pocket. Y'all, this is the difference between features and benefits. And even some of the biggest companies in the world are still forgetting this about marketing. And it's so much more than marketing. This should be a part of every area of your business. So I want to play a really fun game with you guys. We are going to show you an ad that SweetFlex was using before they started working with us. And then we're going to show you an ad that they've used now since we've been working together. And I'm not going to tell you which one, but I want to see which ad you guys think performed better. I think it's going to be pretty obvious, but we have the ad on the left and we have the ad on the right. So let's go ahead and play.
I was shocked at how my legs transformed just from wearing SweetFlex resistance band leggings. I'm a mother, a businesswoman, a dog walker, chauffeur, and wear lots of hats throughout the course of the week. With all the ripping and running in my day, I've never felt like I was giving my body enough attention and just felt unhealthy at the end of the day. One of the other moms told me about her SweetFlex leggings that actually have resistance bands built into the legs, and that she burns on an average 255 more calories a day, and that her legs have firmed up, changing nothing else about her routine but wearing the SweetFlex leggings. So I tried a pair and I couldn't believe the change. I was burning more calories without changing anything about my day, and I even saw my legs turn to a place they haven't been in years. So not only are they the best looking leggings in my closet, when I wear my SweetFlex leggings, I go to bed feeling healthier, knowing I did something good for myself for once, and that I got the most growth out of the day I possibly could.
All right, y'all can watch the rest of that later. All right, which ad do you all think worked better, the left or the right? I think this is a pretty obvious one, especially with my audience here. Yes, it was the right. And what's interesting about this is this ad actually worked. It wouldn't work for most businesses who don't have the insane novelty of the product that SweetFlex does. So this actually worked. But this is an example of just speaking to the features of a product. This could not be a better example of speaking to the benefits, especially when honed in on an avatar, which we don't have time to go into here. But this is one of our favorite things to do with clients. We're about to bring on a client that sells a really cool product and they just kind of throw it out into the ether. Hey, everybody, here's what our product can do. And the first thing that we're going to do, just like we did here with SweetFlex, is figure out not only the benefits, but who are the best avatars for this particular product. So not only did we start speaking to the benefits, we also started speaking to avatars like moms who don't have a lot of time in their day so that we can be more specific with our targeting, so that we can tell a story for a specific type of person. So key, but a great example here of features versus benefits. Attila, who is one of our amazing growth strategists and media buyers on our agency team. I've known Attila over 10 years. He is the one that works on SweetFlex's account. And we asked him for advice on this topic. He said, right from your audience's perspective, not yours. And this is so key when a lot of us sit down to write ads or create marketing concepts in general. We put our professional marketing hat on and we get really stiff and we get really salesy and it doesn't work. And if you can be very intentional about taking that hat off and putting your I'm a real person hat on, but I'm a marketer, this will allow you to relax. This will allow you to get into the mind of the customer and really write from their perspective. So shout out to Attila in London. So how are you guys feeling about your own advertising? Whether it's for a client, whether it's for your own brand, do you feel like you fall into this trap? Do you speak more to benefits or features? Or are you even willing to admit this? Okay, it looks like about 70%, 68% are more benefits focused, and about 30% are more features focused. And I will say, guys, there is a time and place for features, but it's on your sales page and it's usually in more of the fine print. The people that care about the features, like the way in which it was made or, how long the course is that you're selling, they are going to go find that information on the page. They will find that information, but it is not going to be what initially hooks them in from an ad. So remember, the goal of the ad is to generate the click. The goal of the page is to actually convert the person into a buyer. So 72% of y'all are benefits focused, rock and roll. Let's see if we can dive into that even more as you guys continue to move forward. So questions to ask your audience to start to even get this information. Because something else that Max said that he still does is he will take his product to Starbucks, give it to people, and ask them what they think. He is not shy. And it really takes this effort, whether it's getting on Zoom calls, whether it's really analyzing the reviews for your business to get into the mind of the customer. And the questions that we usually like to ask to pull this information out of people that then become ads, that then become these marketing messages, these are our go-to questions. Number one, how would you describe yourself? This is where we get ideas for avatars, right? You ask someone how they describe themselves. If they're a mom, they're probably going to include that in the description. So this is where we get ideas for, should we position this product to moms or teachers or nurses or entrepreneurs? If you are a business that has the opportunity to market to multiple avatars, how would you describe yourself? You all, it's also important that you ask these questions in the way I've written them because they are built to generate useful responses, right? Surveys and interviews are absolutely pointless if you are not asking the right questions. So how would you describe yourself? What was life like before you had or consumed or used our product? What was life like? That sets them up to tell you all of the pain points that were going on in their life and make it not so much about your product. What was life like after you consumed our product? Same thing. And this isn't what did you like about our product? That's not it, guys. It was what was life like? What is life like afterwards? This is going to give you such useful information. And then my favorite, and again, you have to use these exact words. If you were to recommend us to a friend, what would you say? And what that does is it forces them, even though it's subconscious and they don't know, to take off their marketer hat. Because if you said, can you give us a testimonial for the product? They're going to say, I love Hydro Jug. It's as big as my head. I can carry a lot of water. It's a silly example, but they are going to explain the features of the product. If you say, if you were to recommend this to a friend, now they're going into casual mode. Now they're thinking about their friends and the application of the product in someone else's life. These are so valuable, again, to ask in person, to ask on Zoom, to send as surveys out to your audience. There's nothing more powerful that you can ask of people. Will also give you ideas for products you can launch in the future. Okay, one more thing on this, guys, before we move on to the action items. You guys know that you can use AI to generate a lot of this information, and we'll be talking about AI more in future episodes, but nothing will replace the words of your actual customer. Do not shortcut this with AI. Generate this information, generate these transcripts, then give it to AI to analyze and to make your work easier and to give you other ideas. But do not, please, rely solely on AI to understand your customer. That's Molly's ask of the day. Okay, y'all. So just to start to wrap up some action items, because what is information if we don't go use it? Number one, look at the 3 metrics that we covered earlier: revenue, AOV, clicks to purchase, and analyze how your January 2025 metrics stack up against January 2024 and how yours benchmark against ours. That will lead you to maybe understanding some different areas of the business that you need to work on. Launch a Q1 campaign to drive revenue, but first run that email warming campaign and let us know how it improved your email metrics. And remember, with this promotion, we're really focusing on where the audience is in Q1, investing in self. That hook works in every single market. No matter what you're selling, you're still selling to people. We are not yet selling to robots. So this works for every single one of us. Review your marketing messaging, review your ads, your emails, your pages. Where can you lean more into the benefits? Talk to your customers. Yes, use AI to understand the voice and the mind of your customer, but actually talk to them. When I look at our clients and our own businesses that are scaling the most quickly, they are in constant conversation with their customer. What I love most about the local restaurant, Morley's, that we have here in town is that when I go there, when my husband is there every single day, there are real customers there giving us feedback. Our town is small. It's only 15,000 people, and I wear a Morley's hat around. People will stop me in the post office and say, "Hey, are you affiliated with Morley's?" Yes. Okay, you should add XYZ to your menu, or it would be cool if you rearrange the furniture in this way. Local business, it is built in to get that feedback. Online business, we have to be more intentional, but this is one of the most important currencies for us as online businesses as we go through 2025. Also, share a heart. This is Arion likes the hearts, and I do too. If you guys are enjoying this so far, and if you have questions, start to pop those into the chat. I see we have lots going on in the chat, which is wonderful. I'm sure there are questions in there. We will stay on and answer as many of those as we can. So start dropping those in the chat. And as I mentioned earlier, I just want to announce my new dog rescue, which is so exciting. Fields of Freedom, FOFdogrescue.com. It costs us about $500 to save the life of a dog. If you are able and willing, please donate on our website. It is a write-off for you and your business. And also, every single dollar goes back to the dogs. Kentucky is in the top 10 worst states for animal welfare for the amount of dogs that are being euthanized every single week. I receive those lists every week from shelters of, the tens of dogs that just that shelter is going to have to euthanize. And we get to pick one or two when we are lucky. And we have to have resources to do that. So there's much more we want to do with this dog rescue, changing minds, changing the current state of animal welfare. But right now, it is all about the dogs. This is Buffalo Trace and Socks. They got adopted together a few months ago. At this part of the show, I will feature a specific dog that we have for adoption. We do transport all across the country. If you ever see a dog that you're interested in, or if you just want to donate to that dog's care. So that's FOFdogrescue.com. This is where Larry will come into play later too with his Larry Cam. As I mentioned earlier, you can scan this QR code for all of the resources that we mentioned on this show, the slides, the links, one QR code that houses everything so we aren't giving you 10 different links. All right, y'all, and this is where we enter the Q&A segment of the show. Arian or Sam, whoever wants to do the honor of reading out some questions that are coming in from the audience. We'll stay on, as long as we can here to get your questions answered. And again, in future segments, this topic will change. So sometimes we will have you submit creative, sometimes we'll have you submit landing pages, and we'll actually review those live based off of the topic of the episode. And let us know in the chat, what did you think about the show? This is our first run. We will be making this better every single month. Please share this show and please show up live on the second Tuesday of every month at 1 p.m. Eastern. So thanks y'all for being here. I see the chat blowing up. I can't see it with the slides going up, but if someone wants to read some questions out, we'll have some fun back and forth here.
Awesome. Great job, Molly. And thanks everyone for joining. We got some great questions coming in. The first from Devin. She said, for the email warm-up sequence, who changes the audience for each of the emails? Zooming out further and further, don't they build off each other?
I'm not sure I understand the build off each other, but the idea around the audiences is that you're first starting with your most engaged audience so that there is a lot of activity happening and positive signals going back to the ESP. Then as we branch out, we are now broadening the audience so that hopefully the effect is you are able to end up with a more engaged list, whether you send to your 30-day engaged, 90-day, 120, everybody uses different practices. But the goal is to start with the audience that's most likely to take the action and then broaden from there. I'm pretty sure we have a blog post on our website that outlines this whole process in a better way. And John might also be in the chat that we can elaborate on that a bit.
Awesome. Thanks. We got a question here. What are some lead magnet ideas for the Q1 invest in yourself that you've seen work really well?
Ooh, I love it. Lead magnets are still one of my favorite topics in marketing. It really depends on your business. If you are selling more information or selling services, A more in-depth lead magnet is probably going to work better. And by in-depth, I mean things like webinars, like we're on here today, or, 3-part, 5-part video series. The reason for that is video tends to help you build a relationship with the audience more quickly. But you saw that even working for Scott with Salt Wraps selling bundles of supplements. So you kind of have your varying degrees of lead magnets from what we call basic lead magnets to advanced lead magnets. Advanced is more of what I just discussed. Basic is going to be more of what a lot of us traditionally think of as a lead magnet: checklists, calculators, tools, like Arian, stuff you feel like you can hold in your hand, that have high perceived value. Like every year at this time, and in the next few weeks, we'll be doing this. We launch our meta ads report from the last 12 months. So it is a gigantic swipe file, usually 200 pages long, of the best ads that we ran from the past 12 months, which with an analysis of why, but you can see the ads, you can see the landing page. You guys freak out over this. That is more of a basic lead magnet though, because there is no video component to it. That works really well in terms of cost per lead, but it doesn't work as well in terms of transitioning into an immediate sale. Where a more advanced lead magnet, like a video series or a webinar, usually has a higher cost per lead, but it translates better into sales usually. And now that I say this, maybe we add a video analysis to the meta ads report so we can kind of do both at the same time.
Love that.
So we might change that funnel a little bit.
That's awesome. Renee asked, are the audience definitions for the warm-up segments in any of the Smart Marketer trainings?
Absolutely. We have Smart Email, which I believe is the most comprehensive email program out on the market. It also gives you the templates from all of the flows that we install and build out for clients. It also really teaches you how to run solid promotions, which I think most people don't know how to do. So all of that is in that training. That's led by John and Ezra. Couldn't recommend it more. We probably get some of the best testimonials about that training.
Awesome. Okay, we have a kind of a specific question here. There's an individual here, Eduardo. He says, I own a jewelry company and find it hard to send non-promo emails. Any
Ah,
ideas for the Invest in Yourself Q1 campaign? And actually, Tanya had a interesting suggestion. She said each metal or stone has their own unique healing qualities and benefits, maybe something around that. So, do you have any ideas around a jewelry company and how they can position for Invest in Yourself?
yeah, products like this that feel more like a commodity. And I'm not saying your products are a commodity. I'm sure they are special and high quality and wonderful. But the more you can bring life to them, the better. So, what Tanya said is brilliant: assigning meaning to the jewelry. We have a client that sells only jewelry, they have over 10,000 SKUs. It is insane the complexity of this business. But what does best from a promotional standpoint or a first purchase standpoint is usually a piece of jewelry that we can assign meaning to. So let's say maybe this particular stone or this symbol can be assigned to compassion, or this can be assigned to making it through hard times. That works really well. Also, what works well is assigning it to an avatar. So you look at a brand like Classic Tees, right? They are a huge brand now that they sell t-shirts. I mean, I could, even in my small town, within 3 miles, probably buy t-shirts from 4 or 5 brick and mortar stores. But the way they really launched that brand was around a dad bod and laughing about dad bods, and their models, had more of a dad bod, and the t-shirt was made in a way that wasn't as defining around the belly. And they really launched and scaled that brand by honing in on a particular avatar, even though they were selling something that is very much perceived as a commodity.
Awesome. That looks like that's all the questions for now. So thanks so much.
Awesome, y'all. Well, this was so fun. Thanks, Ariane. Thank you to the Smart Marketer team. We will be back the second week of March, the second Tuesday, 1 p.m. Eastern. This replay will be available to you guys as soon as we finish editing. Again, we will not expire these replays. You guys have access to them into perpetuity. Please share this show with other friends in the marketing entrepreneur space. We really wanted to launch this to our warm audience first, people that we know, love, and care about the Smart Marketer brand. And now that we have proof of concept, we are going to be buying more ads to generate leads to this show, getting people on the show that really haven't heard of Smart Marketer before. So your word of mouth means everything. It's also just really fun to connect with you in person. So show up live next month. That's a chance to ask questions live, to get your assets reviewed live from me and the team. And just thank you as always. I want to close out just really reminding you guys of our mission here at Smart Marketer, and that is serve the world unselfishly and profit. And everything that we do here in our mindset goes back to that mantra, to that motto. And especially when business or marketing is feeling tough, remember, if you always realign yourself, if you always think to what is the next best action that is in service of my market, that is in service to my customers, I promise you the profit will come. This is a huge misconception in our industry. So many people chasing the money and they never get it because they didn't first care about the people. So take that into your everyday life, take that into your work. Thanks again for showing up, and we'll see you guys next month. Thanks, y'all. See you next time.